We have our final four for what is, there is no doubt in my mind, the greatest club rugby competition on planet Earth. The Champions Cup is as good as it gets. It's as close to international rugby as club rugby can get. And when you think about the teams that have won it over the years, they have been some of the finest club rugby teams we have ever seen. There are two box office matches to look forward to. Here are my review of the semi-finals for the Champions Cup. And I want you to get stuck in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, help me spread the word, because we need to do a better job at getting people excited about club rugby. It's not nearly as popular as international rugby is, so help me spread the word by giving the video a thumbs up and leaving a comment and hitting subscribe. The first semi-final then, Leinster versus Northampton. This is Saturday evening, 5:30 p.m. in Dublin, and I mean, this fixture's just got a bit of a ring to it, hasn't it? It's got a lot of history in this one already. One of my favourite matches ever, surely one of the best Champions Cup matches ever, was that final between Leinster and Northampton. Northampton probably thought they had one hand on the trophy at half-time, and an incredible second-half comeback led by Johnny Sexton, Brian O'Driscoll and co. Got Leinster one of their 4 titles that for a few years now they've been desperate to make 5 and match Toulouse, the most successful team in the competition, and they've got as close as you can get the last couple of years. Heartbreaking defeats to La Rochelle, a demon that they slightly exercised with an absolute beatdown of La Rochelle in the quarterfinals a few weeks ago. They were very, very impressive on that afternoon. Yes, it's not the same La Rochelle team that won it the last 2 seasons. They're not at that level. But I tell you what, they sent them packing in some style, and Leinster mean business. But before we get onto the teams and the players and the style of play and what I expect to happen, let's just take a second to just point out one of the most significant elements of this game, which is where it's going to be played, at Croke Park in Dublin, due to the redevelopment at the RDS, the unavailability of the Aviva as well. It's being staged at the home of GAA Sports, and the significance of this venue socioculturally, historically, politically is massive, cannot be overstated, due to the events that happened on the 21st of November 1920 when armed and uniformed soldiers, British soldiers, fired into a crowd of people at a Gaelic football match, killing 14. Bloody Sunday was an atrocity which obviously led to incredible tensions for years afterwards. Bridges were built, a lot of work was done. There are documentaries that are well worth watching if you haven't, which document this, to get the first ever rugby and football games on in this stadium in, nearly 100 years, in 2007. And then 2 years later, the one and only club rugby match was staged there as well, when Leinster played Munster in front of a world record 82,300 crowd, which, I mean, that's mind-blowing, isn't it? It sounds incredible. In a way, it's even more incredible that this game sold out in just a few hours, bearing in mind that was Munster against Leinster. This is the bulk of these tickets are being purchased by Leinster men and women, boys and girls, who are desperate to be part of the next chapter in this history and to try and will them onto another final. 81,000 people are going to be in there. That is just unreal. There'll be a lot of Northampton fans travelling. I've no doubt about that. They travel very well, but what an incredible occasion it's going to be. And an extra boost of energy you feel, if there was any need for it, which I think in Leinster's case there is not, because they are incredibly motivated, but an extra bit of energy just purely by the fact this game is being staged at Croke Park. As for personnel, they were without Hugo Keenan for that quarter-final against La Rochelle, and look like they're without him again for the semi-final. The team hasn't been announced as I record this, but it looks like Keenan's out. They've been without a few players lately, James Ryan and Gary Ringrose and Jimmy O'Brien, but in the case of the last two, Gary Ringrose and Jimmy O'Brien, they look to be fit and available. Will they start straight away? Will both of them start straight away? I think there's a good argument to say one or both could start on the bench. And that is just a testament to how players like Kieran Frawley and Jimmy Osborne have been playing. Leinster are in a very good place. I'd imagine big game matchup, Croke Park and all. I'd imagine there's a good chance both of these guys are back in the starting jerseys. But they don't have to, and that's an amazing place to be at. And people make the quip a lot that it's the Ireland team wearing blue. They've earned the right to have those little quips made, because you look at the pack in particular, and it's all Irish internationals right the way through. Even guys on the bench are coming off. Guys like Jack Conan off the bench, Josh van der Fleer on the bench in recent weeks. Just unreal talent. Now they have rested their guys during URC matches the last couple of weeks, so they'll be fresh. Will they be slightly undercooked? That will be what Northampton might be banking on. And despite Jamison Gibson Park being in the form of his life, they'll want to try and catch them cold. That you think that is probably Northampton's best shot. Hope that Leinster are slightly undercooked with a couple of weeks off. Get in there early and keep the crowd quiet, and then you never know. They've got a shot. They have got absolute game-breaking talents. Ollie Slightholme in the form of his life. The back line fizzing. They just cut amazing angles, attacking shapes, and it doesn't seem to matter who plays. That, like they brought in the last game, Litchfield. They've had Hendy coming in recent weeks, and they just slot straight in because they all know exactly what each other's doing, and the opposition don't know what any of them are doing, which makes them just incredibly difficult to defend against. So Northampton are going to have a shot. They're top of the Premiership for a reason. They're playing great rugby. The one thing that doesn't get mentioned, and I've talked about the brilliant attacking play, and while I'm just on that, the halfbacks have been brilliant. Alex Mitchell just plays with such a tempo. Like Gibson Park, he's the heartbeat of that team. But Finn Smith will not be overawed by this. If he wants to make a statement about potential England test starts this summer in the internationals, he can make it right here. His maturity is astounding, and the way he's not phased. The bigger the game, the more he seems to just want it, is a very impressive thing. So Finn Smith could have we should have a big role to play this weekend. But don't overlook their pack, who have been much improved this season. They've all bulked up a little bit over the last year. Defensively, Northampton have been great. Their set piece has been good. And in a guy like Courtney Laws, they've got a talisman who leads by actions, not words. And he's out there. Well, just his attitude is second to none. He's one of the greatest players the club's ever produced. And he will know he's playing one of his last ever matches for Northampton Saints. He'll want to make sure it's not his last ever Champions Cup game. There is motivation for Northampton there. No question about it. So do I give him a chance? I don't give him a big chance. I just think there's just the way Leinster played against La Rochelle was frightening, and the extra energy there's going to be in the air with it being at Croke Park. I don't give Northampton a great deal of hope. If the game was played 10 times, Northampton win 1. So I'd say a 90% chance Leinster come through. The other semi-final, well, the team Leinster are chasing, the team that have already got a 5th star above their crest, the most successful team in this competition, the most successful club rugby team anywhere in the world. It's just in the DNA. I was at the Toulouse ground a month or two ago, and you just feel it. Everywhere you go, there are trophies in cabinets. There are pictures on walls. There's reminders of the legends. In fact, you just walk around that ground for any length of time, and Emile Ntamak will stroll past you. There's just the legends that club has produced over the years are still part of the club now, and that you feel the history. They expect to be in these big matches, and they expect to win these big matches. This, by the way, is one of my favourite rugby photos ever. When they won the Champions Cup, ski masks and champagne. It doesn't get more Toulouse than that, and they're actually currently the top 14 holders, which they've won now 22 times, and they want to make sure they get a 6th Champions Cup title, as well as retaining that, and nothing less than winning both will be enough for Toulouse. That's the standards that they set, and you can understand it because they've had some legends play at that club over the years, but the players that they've got right now, with Antoine Dupont, with Romain Ntamak, with Thomas Ramos just being a few, but they're everywhere you look. Emmanuel Mayafu, Thibaut Flamont, Kroos and Gelonch and Willis in the back row, and Malvaca and Marchand and Bai. Everywhere you look, I'll tell you what it was. It was the quarter-final against Exeter. They absolutely smoked them. But it was when Kinghorn and Malvaca went off, and Marchand and Thomas Ramos came on. You just thought, this is insane. They're up against Quins, who are trying to make sure that lightning strikes twice. Can they do what they did to Bordeaux, to Toulouse? They'll be backing themselves, absolutely, and they should. They've shown that they can do it, and they didn't just do it with, again, much like Northampton, the things that Quins get a lot of credit for are their brilliant attacking play. They've got guys like Marcus Smith and Andre Esterhazen, in their midfield, and they can just, Andre Esterhazen can take up enough space and defenders' attention that Marcus Smith can pick the holes with the other players that Harlequins have got. But do not overlook the job that their pack did in the last match. Chandler Cunningham himself, all 20-odd stone of him, punching holes. You had Finn Baxter stepping up with the game of his life to completely take Ben Tamafuna to the cleaners. Will Collier as well, brilliant at prop. And then Will Evans. Tell you what, he's been one of the best players in the Champions Cup this season, Will Evans. And if he has a good day, and he's got more turnovers than anyone in this competition, if he has a good day, then the ball for Toulouse will be slowed up a little bit and they could be in business. Will that happen? It could happen. Absolutely it could. Will that happen? I don't expect it to. But then I didn't think Harlequins would beat Bordeaux. And look how wrong I was about that. So absolutely they can. I think with both of these games, with Harlequins and with Northampton, the first 10 minutes, maybe being the first team to score, quietening down the crowd, could be it, because that's Toulouse Stadium, and they're playing at the football stadium rather than their usual rugby ground, so they can get even more people in. That stadium will be absolutely bouncing, as it will be at Croke Park. And if there's lots of noise being made, it's good news for Leinster and Toulouse and bad news for the English sides. I do think, for what it's worth, it could be wins in both games by 20 points. I hope it's closer. I think it will probably be wins by 15 to 20 points in both matches, and setting up what would be the most mouth-watering of finals that you could possibly imagine. But there's 80 minutes of rugby in both of those matches before we get to that, so I'll leave the final till we get to the final. And I'm sure there's no Leinster fans or Toulouse fans that will be taking this one for granted. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. What's the route to victory? How is an upset possible? If you're a Leinster fan or a Toulouse fan, what are you worried about in regards to the opposition? Personnel-wise, do you think you've got what it takes? Get stuck in the comments down below. As I say, your comments, the thumbs up, hitting subscribe, it all helps me spread the word about this brilliant competition. I want club rugby to be more popular. It's not where it should be. It's way below international rugby in terms of people's attention. So let's change that together. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. I'll see you on the next one.